The year was 1912, and the world was teetering on the edge of chaos. In the far reaches of North Africa, the Kingdom of Morocco, a land of ancient traditions and fierce independence, was on the brink of being swallowed by the tides of imperialism. France, having already claimed much of the region, now sought to bring Morocco under its colonial umbrella. But in the heart of the Atlas Mountains, where the Berbers had lived for centuries, a fire of resistance was about to ignite. Khalid ibn Zaydan was a young Berber warrior, tall and strong, with a face hardened by the harsh sun and a heart full of pride for his people. He had grown up in the village of Ait bin Hadu, a fortress of mud brick kasbahs perched on a rocky outcrop. The village was a sanctuary of peace in a world that seemed to be growing darker by the day. But that peace was shattered when word reached the mountains that the French had begun their advance. It was late in the afternoon when the messenger arrived. A man named Youssef, who had traveled for days to bring the news. He was exhausted, his face gaunt, and his voice cracked with urgency as he spoke to the village elders. "The French have taken Rabat," Youssef said, his words hanging in the air. "They march toward Fez, and soon they will come for the mountains. The Sultan has surrendered. There is no one left to stand against them, except us." Khalid listened from the shadows, his fists clenched in anger. The Sultan's surrender felt like a betrayal. How could the ruler of their land bow to foreign invaders? But as the elders murmured amongst themselves, he realized that they were more afraid than angry. Sheikh Abdallah, the oldest and most respected of the village leaders, finally spoke. His voice was steady, but there was a weariness in his eyes. "We are a small village, Youssef. What can we do against the might of France? We have no rifles, no cannons, only our swords and our faith." "But we have the mountains," Youssef replied. "We know these lands better than any outsider. We can fight them in the passes, harry their supply lines, and make them pay for every inch they try to take. We are not alone. Other tribes are rising up. Together, we can drive them out." Khalid stepped forward, his voice cutting through the murmurs. "Youssef is right. We cannot sit here and wait for them to come to us. We must fight, or we will lose everything. Our land, our families, our freedom." The elders looked at Khalid. Seeing the fire in his eyes, Sheikh Abdallah nodded slowly. "Very well, Khalid. You will lead our warriors. Go to the other villages, rally the tribes. If this is to be our last stand, then let it be one that the French will never forget." And so, the spark of rebellion was lit. Khalid, Youssef, and a small band of warriors set out across the mountains, moving swiftly from village to village, calling on the tribes to join the fight. Everywhere they went, they found men and women ready to take up arms, ready to defend their homes. By the time they returned to Ait bin Hadu, they had gathered a force of hundreds. The mountains of Morocco were unforgiving, their jagged peaks and deep valleys a natural fortress for the Berbers. It was here that Khalid and his warriors made their stand, turning the terrain into their greatest weapon. They knew the French would come, and when they did, they would be ready. The first encounter came at dawn, in the narrow pass of Tizi and Tichka. The French, led by Colonel Henri Dubois, a veteran of the Algerian campaigns, had marched with confidence, believing that their superior firepower would crush any resistance. But as they entered the pass, they found themselves in a world of shadows.